Let me ask you something. When was the last time a client called you to say they loved the formatting on your report? It doesn't happen. What they care about is clarity. Did the numbers move? Why? What's next? Everything else, the hours you spent writing transitions, cleaning up the narrative, getting the tone right, that's invisible to them. They'll never know how long it took, and they'll never appreciate it. But here's what they do notice: when the report is late, when it feels rushed, when 2 months look wildly different in quality because one was written on a Tuesday morning and one was written on a Friday night. That inconsistency is what this workflow fixes. And AI is the reason it's fixable without hiring someone to write reports for you. Look what's on the left. Everything that goes into producing a client report: pulling data from multiple platforms, writing narrative from scratch, formatting, revising tone, packaging, and sending. Each one of those is a context switch. Each run requires you to stop thinking about strategy and start thinking about presentation. Now look what's on the right. 3 questions. That's what the client is actually answering when they read what you sent. Did numbers go up? Anything to worry about? What's next? The gap between those two columns is where AI earns its place. The left side, that production overhead, is exactly the kind of structured, pattern-based work that AI handles without effort. You don't need to spend hours closing that gap manually anymore. 4 hours per report. That probably sounds familiar, maybe even a little optimistic depending on your clients. Multiply that by 4 reports a month, and you're at 16 hours. 16 hours a month, every month, is 192 hours a year. Put that in context. If you bill at $100 an hour, that's $19,000 worth of your time going to report production annually. Not strategy, not client relationships, not new businesses, reports. And most of that time isn't thinking, it's translating. You already know what happened. You already know what it means. You're just converting that knowledge into sentences. That translation layer is where AI takes over. Here's the part of this problem that's harder to quantify. Look at the two columns: Monday report versus Friday report. Same data set, same client, completely different output quality. Monday, you had energy, clarity, and time. The narrative was strong, the insights were well framed, the conclusion landed. Friday, you had 17 other things going on, a call that ran long, and a deadline you couldn't miss. The report went out, but it felt lacking. Your clients may never say anything directly, but they're formatting an impression of your work based on every deliverable you send. Inconsistency compounds quietly over months, and it's entirely avoidable because AI doesn't have an energy level. It produces the same quality on a Friday afternoon that it does on a Monday morning, every single time. If you've watched the Making AI Make Sense series, you already understand why this works. AI is a pattern completion engine. Give it structured inputs, a clear format, and a defined tone, and it produces consistent, polished prose at a speed no human matches. That's not a limitation dressed up as a feature. That's exactly the right tool for exactly this job. Report writing isn't creative writing, it's transformation. You have raw facts. You need a coherent narrative. AI does that translation faster and more consistently than you do manually, and it never has a bad week. Read the left side out loud. Conversions up 12%. CTR decent. Client asked about mobile. Spend was under. That's real. That's what notes actually look like after a busy month when you're focused on running the campaign, not documenting it for a report. Now read what AI returned. This month's campaign delivered a 12% lift in conversions, with mobile emerging as a top performing channel worth prioritizing in Q3 planning. Every single fact from those notes is in that sentence. AI didn't invent anything. It didn't hallucinate a number or manufacture a trend. It took what was already there and gave it shape. That distinction matters. And that's why the review step we'll cover later is fast rather than laborious. You're checking, not fact-finding. 4 inputs. That's all this workflow requires. Campaign metrics, the actual numbers. Open rates, click-through rates, spend, conversions, whatever your reporting stack produces. Client goals, what they were trying to accomplish this month specifically, not generally. Notable observations, the things you've noticed that the numbers alone don't communicate. The ad set that underperformed, the audience segment that surprised you, the thing you want the client to know but wouldn't show up in the dashboard. And tone and format preferences, because the right report for a boutique retail client and the right report for a B2B software company aren't the same document. These 4 things give AI everything it needs to produce a complete, structured first draft, not a skeleton, not a list of bullets with connective tissue, a full draft with narrative, context, and recommendations, ready for your review. Here's the prompt. Read through it before we run the live demo. It opens by giving AI a role. You are writing a monthly performance report. That framing matters. It tells AI what kind of output to produce before it reads a single data point. Then it takes each of the 4 inputs from the last section and gives them a home. Client goals, campaign results, observations, tone. The format line, executive summary, key results, what worked, what to watch, next steps, does 2 things. It ensures every section gets covered, and it gives the client a consistent structure they'll recognize month over month. Reports that look the same every time are easier to read because clients know where to find what they're looking for. The last line is doing quiet but important work. Write in full sentences, no filler, lead with outcomes. Without that constraint, AI will pad, it'll hedge, it'll bury the number that matters inside a paragraph of context setting. That single instruction keeps the output tight. Copy the prompt, it's yours. Before we run the live example, this is what you're getting back. A complete report with all 5 sections populated. Not a template with blanks to fill in, not an outline waiting for you to write paragraphs. A filled in, client-ready first draft in under 60 seconds. We're about to show you exactly that. These are the actual notes we're going to feed into the prompt. Email open rate, 31%, up from 22%. CPC dropped 40 cents. Client mentioned wanting more Instagram focus. Total spend was $2,800 of a $3,000 budget. One underperforming ad set got pulled mid-month. 5 bullet points, no transitions, no narrative, no explanation of what any of it means for the client's business. Just data points and observations. Exactly the kind of thing you'd jot down while you were heads down managing the campaign. This is the starting point. Watch what happens to it. The same prompt structure, now with the brackets replaced. The client is Riverside Boutique, a retail e-commerce business. The goals, drive email engagement, stay within the $3,000 budget. Results and observations are pulled directly from those 5 bullet points. Tone, professional. 2 minutes to fill out. Probably less once you've done it a few times and have a rhythm with your own notes. Everything AI needs is right there. Now let's see what it does with it. Read the executive summary. This month's campaign delivered strong efficiency gains and a notable improvement in email engagement. With an open rate climbing from 22% to 31%, audience connection is meaningfully stronger. Cost per click dropped by 40 cents, and the team managed spend to $2,800, $200 under budget, while proactively pulling an underperforming ad set before it impacted overall results. Instagram represents a clear opportunity heading into next month. Every data point from those 5 bullet points is in there. But look at what AI did with them. Proactively pulling an underperforming ad set before it impacted overall results. That framing wasn't in the notes. AI inferred the intent from a fact and gave it language your client can appreciate. Instagram represents a clear opportunity was 1 bullet point that said client mentioned wanting more Instagram focus. AI converted an observation into a forward-looking recommendation. That's the transformation, not invention. Every fact is verifiable, just shaped into something a client can read, understand, and act on. 4 things to check before this goes out. First, verify every number against your source data. AI doesn't fabricate figures, but it can occasionally reframe or round in ways that shift the meaning. Take 90 seconds and confirm each one. Second, does the tone fit this specific client? Not clients in general, this one. The relationship you've built over months or years has a register to it. Make sure the draft matches it. Third, check for anything overstated. AI packages results professionally, which sometimes tips into optimistic. If a metric was flat, it shouldn't read like a breakthrough. You'll catch it immediately. Fourth, add what only you know. What came up on the call that didn't make it into your notes? What context does the client need that isn't in the data? That's your contribution, not the writing, the judgment. 90 seconds. Then send. The full draft is a starting point, not the ceiling, and refining it fast is precisely because you're not starting from scratch. Want the what to watch section expanded with 3 specific risks based on the results? Say that. One sentence. AI adds it. Want the executive summary cut to 2 sentences because this particular client never reads more than that? Say that. Done in seconds. Want to add a budget efficiency comparison to last month that you don't forget to include in the original prompt? One follow-up message. Each refinement is a conversation, not a rewrite. The cumulative time for the full draft plus 2 or 3 refinements is still well under 30 minutes. That's the compounding effect of starting with a solid foundation. Same data, 2 completely different deliverables. The executive report style is dense, structured, numbers forward, designed for someone who wants to extract the information quickly and move on. The conversational style flows more naturally, uses warmer language, frames recommendations as suggestions rather than directives. Designed for a client who wants to feel like they're getting a debrief from a trusted partner, not reading a dashboard export. Neither of these requires a different analysis. Neither requires rewriting the data. They require one word changed in the prompt, and AI adapts the entire voice of the report accordingly. That flexibility is part of why this workflow scales. You serve different clients with different communication styles. Now, so does your reporting. 3 things AI genuinely cannot do, and it's worth being direct about all 3. It cannot verify its own numbers. It takes what you gave it and uses it. So if you gave it the wrong figure, the report has the wrong figure. Cross-check every metric against your actual source data before this goes anywhere. It cannot read the room of your client relationship. It knows what you told it in the prompt. It doesn't know that this client has been anxious about their Instagram performance since January, or that they had a rough board meeting, or that you've been rebuilding trust after a tough quarter. Your knowledge of the relationship is irreplaceable, and it cannot account for what happened on the call. If the client said something Tuesday that changes how you frame those results, AI has no idea. That context lives with you, and adding it takes one follow-up message before you finalize the draft. The review step isn't a safety net for AI failures. It's where your expertise completes the work. 4 hours compressed into 25 minutes. The manual version, data pull, writing, formatting, revisions, export, is 5 separate tasks, each with its own setup cost. You have to get in the right headspace for each one, and every transition between them bleeds time. The AI assisted version collapses all of that. You spend 5 minutes filling out the prompt, 60 seconds waiting for the output, and 15 to 20 minutes on review and refinements. That's it. 3 hours and 35 minutes per report. 4 reports a month means 14 hours back every month going to work that actually moves your business forward. 3 signals that the manual approach has become a real problem. You're sending more than 2 reports a month, and the cumulative time is starting to crowd out other work. Your report quality varies visibly, not because the campaign varied, but because your bandwidth did. Or you catch yourself spending more time on formatting and structure than on actually thinking about what the results mean for the client strategy. If any of those are true, this isn't a nice to have, it's a fix. A templated prompt system you use every single month eliminates all 3 of those problems at once, and it takes 1 afternoon to set up. 3.5 hours saved every time you send a report. Consistent quality regardless of what else is happening that week. The 100% consistent isn't a metric, it's the point. The output doesn't degrade when you're slammed. And 192 hours recaptured over the course of the year, a full month of working time, no longer spent translating data into sentences. That time doesn't disappear. It goes into strategy, to client relationships, to the work that actually builds the business. AI handles the structure. You handle the strategy. That division of labor is the whole point. This is part of making AI work. Every video, one real business workflow, one demonstration of what AI actually does to a task that used to take longer. If you need this at scale for your team, let's talk. You can find us at eauclairai.com. Subscribe if you want new workflows every week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.